This is what is included in the repinning kit. Now, if you're watching this on the purchasing site, make sure that you look at the link that I'm going to be posting right below so that you can watch the full video on the rekeying and how this is all done, and my review of the product, which I can tell you right now is pretty awesome. I thought I was only getting packages of 0 pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, I don't know if it said that it came with top pins or if they're just doing that, or I'm not really sure, but this is awesome. The only thing that could make this kit better is if they included a package of springs. Then you could go out and rekey and set up old locks to work again with new top pins and springs, and it would be incredible. But I'm very happy. I checked with a digital caliper the dimensions of these pins, and they are accurate, and I'm extremely happy with this purchase. I can tell you right off, my review of this product is excellent. So now I'm going to show you how to remove a lock from the door, how to take off the Schlage lock. I believe this is only for people that are doing Schlage locks. You might be able to benefit from other locks, but this is all about Schlage locks, and I removed this. I'm going to show you right now how this was removed in the video with some editing over here, and then I'm going to show you how we open this thing up and put in the new pins to match a key. This is the lock that I'm going to be rekeying. Now, with a Schlage lock, most of the time you're going to have an indent. You're going to have a little button over here. I don't know if you can see it. See that little thing over there? You're going to have a button over here. You might have a hole where you can put a screw head or a screwdriver tip, and you're going to press that thing after you put your key in. So let me show you what happens. But you need to have a key that is going to work on this lock. Otherwise, you cannot remove the doorknob this way. So what you do is you put the key in. You can see when the key is turned, this button should press in. Doesn't press in now. But when it is turned, that button should go inward. I might have to get a screwdriver. There it goes. And let me zoom out. So it allows you to remove the knob, and then after you remove the knob, you can go in and do the rekeying. So that's what I'm going to do right now. You take the knob out, and then you will go into the back over here, which I'll show you inside. You remove this, take the key out. Okay, sorry about that. We got the key out now. Now I will have to remove the lock from the doorknob, and I will show you how that's done. On some models of Schlage locks, you will have a little inner ring. You'll put a screwdriver in the inner ring in the outer part of the knob, and you'll pry that ring off, and then this lock cylinder will come out. On a lock like this, once you remove the doorknob from the door, you will have a screw that is holding the cylinder into the handle. So you'll unscrew the screw, and this lock cylinder will pop out, and then you'll be able to do the rekeying. With this newer style lock, you need to put the key in. I'm going to do right now. And you need to wiggle it around a little bit. And slide. You need to jiggle it around. I don't know if you can see the spring cover, the cover of the lock. You need to get this thing positioned so that it comes out. Hopefully it comes out. I'll press down on the lock a little bit. Maybe I can get this thing out. There it is. So this is what we're going to be rekeying, is the cylinder here. I'm going to show you what is inside here. so it makes sense to you, and then I'll show you how the rekeying is done. If my videos help you, please do a thumbs up, a subscribe, or a like. If you want to link this to any website, feel free to. If you have anything you want me to review, let me know. If I can get a hold of it, I will. And if you want to leave a donation to my channel, ask for my PayPal info. So now it's time to show you what is in the lock, and then we are going to go and rekey this. Here we have that door knob lock that I was telling you about. Sometimes there will be a screw over here holding this in, other times no. Looks like we have a spider. I think there's a spider inside the lock. So let's see if I can get this thing to push through without as much trouble as the other one. There we go. It just came out easily. And we've got two spiders inside there. Assume that these are the springs of the lock, these are the top pins, and these are the bottom pins that we will be rekeying. And this circle here is the cylinder. Normally, without a key in the lock, the spring is pressing down on the top pin and the bottom pin, and you can see that this cylinder would not be able to turn because the pin is blocking the ability to turn. But when you push the key, put the key into the lock, the pin goes upward. Remember, the spring is pressing the pins down. The pin goes upward to the right position, depending on the cut of the key and the size of the pin, and it allows the cylinder to turn, and that is how you open up your lock. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open up the lock, and the important thing is you don't want the spring or the top pin to go flying out, because if they do, then you're going to have to put them back in. It's going to make it more difficult to close the lock up. It is doable. You might need a tweezers, but it is doable. You just have to be careful that you don't damage the spring. And to avoid something like that, there's a tool called a follower. Now, a follower is just a round cylinder that would go into the lock. So as you are putting the key in, which I'm going to show you, when you put the key in and you slide, where is it? When you insert the key into the lock, when you slide this cylinder out, all the springs, see the spring in there? The spring and the top pin are going to go shooting out and drop out of the lock. But if you put the key in and you take something like a follower and you put it on the back of the lock, and assuming that the follower fits, it might not fit. They make different sizes. This follower looks too big. This follower might also be too big for this lock. And if that's true, then you have an option. As I said, you let everything fly out, and then you insert it back in and slowly close it up. Or you can put a dollar bill, or you can try to push a Sharpie into there to stop the pins from flying out. But if they do come out, it shouldn't be a problem. Just make sure, if you're doing this with a master keyed lock, then you don't want to do that because you don't know what the top pins are in there and how they are keyed, and that could cause you some problems. So mainly all you're going to do now is you're going to put the key inside the lock, and you're going to try to get a follower or something, a Sharpie or something round, even a dollar bill. You can roll a dollar bill up, and it might not hold it in, but see what you can do to get something, some cylindrical item in here that is going to keep the pressure on the top pin and the spring. And then you're just going to take the bottom, the pins with the cylinder, you're going to remove that, and then we are going to go and match the pins in the package with the cuts on the key, so that when you have the proper pin, it will be flush with the top of the cylinder when the key is in the lock. And I'm going to show you that now. So my advice to you is make sure you do this in an area where if pins fall or springs go flying, that you're going to be able to find everything. Don't do this on carpet. It's going to be really difficult to remove the springs or the pins if they get stuck in there. So we've got the back of the lock here, and it's got a little clip on it, a little C-clamp, whatever you call that thing. These are sometimes tricky to take off, sometimes not. They make a tool for it, but all you really need to do is hold your finger on one side, and you're going to use a screwdriver and press on the other side. This is where you need to be careful, because this thing, if you don't do this the right way, will go flying across the room, and then you have to find it. So keep a finger close to the back of it, so when it goes flying, if it flies, you can catch it, stop it from going. And be careful, you don't want the screwdriver to go jamming into your finger. like that. So use some caution. I do have too big of a screwdriver here. Alrighty, a smaller screwdriver. Let's see if this works without hurting myself. What I'm going to do is take a screwdriver on each end, and that way, don't put this in a vise. You don't want to crush the material. Now, this is not too smart either. This is kind of even worse. There it is. If I could just get that screwdriver in there and squeeze it. Oh, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes. Okay, now I'm going to pop a blade in here and pry. Oh, I better get a smaller blade before I lose this. Can you see that? Get the screwdriver in there. Turn a little bit. You can't really pry. Just turn. The clip is off. Now this is where, don't lose this thing. Otherwise, lock is not going back together. This is where the tricky part is. This cylinder is 1/2 inch in diameter, and this follower is 1/2 inch. So, oh, there's a little spider inside there. So what you need to do is you need to, the slots are over there so that you can turn this thing if you need to get pins in there with a tweezers and then turn it. But what you need to do is, and with this lock, the pin might want to get stuck in that ridge over there. So it's a little tricky, but you put your key in here, find something. If you can't do it, then, like I said, you're just going to go in and pop in your springs and your top pins, and then slowly insert the bottom pin and slide this whole thing back together. That might happen depending on, see right now this is an old style tool, not made to go over this thing. So what you want to do now is you're going to turn the key. It's kind of a bad key. I measured the dimensions of the key. The key's all worn. The pins are worn. So you're going to turn it sideways, but you are going to, so when you turn it sideways, the bottom pins are going to be facing upward, and the top pins are still held into the cylinder. You need to put something in here to hold the top pins while you are sliding this through. And the top pins might go into that ridge and I might lose it. The newer tool would probably fit right over this thing. This is an old tool that really needs to be filed out more. So I might end up with some problems here. I'm going to try to make it work, but we'll see. It's a little stuck right now, so the pins are already stuck in there. The top pin is already getting stuck in the ridge. Ugh. All right. Let's try to get this thing going. That is exactly what's happening. So we're going to try to use the old famous Sharpie. Let's see if that holds it in. Hold the Sharpie up towards the lock to try to catch the pin. I might lose it. I definitely might lose the pin, but I'm going to try. Make sure you don't dump your bottom pins over there. These are the bottom pins. So let's see if I lose everything. Yep, I lost something. I definitely lost something. See, I've got the pins over there. So in this case, I'm just going to pull it all back out, and we will have to do what we have to do. I don't want to break anything, so what I'm going to do now is pull out all the stuff that's in here. Now, what I'm not going to do is go into the package and pull out the new pins and put them back in, because that doesn't really need to be done. But what I want you to see here is these are the old pins, and Schlage pins are usually color-coded. So you can see that the pin should be completely level with the top, and this is not. That's because there's some key wear. When I slide the key out a little bit, you know, sometimes you slide out a key to make, and it opens the lock. That's what's going on. It's riding on the ridges of the cuts. So when you install your new pins, you're going to want to make sure that they are level with the top so that when this is in there, it will turn and allow the key to turn. So what I'm going to do now is show you what is inside the lock, which you definitely need to know about. We have the top spring. The reason I backed off is because I knew that the springs were starting to mess up with what was going on with what I was doing. So what you have is you will have a spring that goes into the hole. Yeah, that spring started to spin out as I was putting in the Sharpie. So what you will have is a spring that is in the hole, and then you will have your top pin, which goes in this way. So the spring will go into the hole, and your top pin will be facing up, and then you will be putting your bottom pins into the cylinder, and then you'll slide this together. So if you don't have a follower, if you don't have something, like my Sharpie didn't work, you're just going to have to go one at a time. You're going to get your pins in here, and then you're going to feed this thing in one at a time, sliding your spring in there, and then your pin in there, and then sliding this together until the whole thing comes back and is closed up. You might want to mark which direction, but you can see it's only going to go in one direction. It's not going to work this way. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert my new pins, and with the new key I'm going to close all of this up, and then, which you really don't need to see because it just doesn't matter. The pins it's self-explanatory. You take the pins out of the package, you put them in there, make sure that everything's level with the top of the cylinder, put your top pin, your springs, your top pins into the holes, slide this thing in, turn the key, it should close. After it closes, go in and put your C-clamp back on here. Hold carefully because these things like to fly across the room, and then you should have a fully rekeyed lock, and then you can put it back in the door handle or doorknob or whatever you've got, reassemble everything, and go on to your next lock. So I'm going to go finish this thing off now. Again, if you like my videos, if they help you, thumbs up, subscribe, like. If you want me to do a review of anything, let me know. And if this saved you any money with repairs, or if any of my videos help you out, please consider leaving a donation on my PayPal account. All right, thank you. I just wanted to show you, this is the lock with the new pins in there. Everything is perfectly level and even. This is a fairly new key, very little wear. So you can see the pins are flush. If they were not flush, then it might not turn, it might turn, it might bind. So that's what you want to do. So now, as I said, I'm going to, because I didn't have a follower or a plug to hold the pins and the springs in, I'm going to insert the spring, use some tweezers, go carefully, go slowly, put the spring in with the top pin, press it down, and slowly slide this thing through if you messed up like I did, and then go on to the next pin until this whole thing is completely inserted in there. And make sure that you have it in the right position so that your pins don't go flying out and falling on the ground. I'm not sure if this is coming out well in the video, but what I've got now is a follower. You can just use a dowel or a block or whatever you want to use, the Sharpie. And I have, what I'm doing is I'm taking tweezers and I am sliding the spring inside there. I think you can see I just put the spring in there. I'm not going to be able to do this on camera because it's going to be angled really bad. But what I'm doing then is I'm taking the top pin, and you got to be careful with this. You don't want to break the spring. But I'm taking the top pin. They do make tweezers that have rounded out tips to grab these pins, but you shouldn't need to buy those things. You shouldn't even be in this position, but this is a perfect video for people who are in this position to see how to recover. So you don't have to pay somebody to do this. So I'm going to be putting the smaller end of the pin into the spring, And I slide the dowel up a little bit. I think you can see it's angled, there's pressure, and then I press the pin in. You can use a screwdriver for this, you can use tweezers, whatever you need to do. So now I've got 3 of the pins in. I've got 2 more springs that I'm going to have to put in here. And if you're not real careful and real gentle, some people have really big hands or they're just not able to do this kind of work. If you can't do this, then pay somebody to do it. But what I would do first is try to do it yourself. It's always good to try to do something yourself as long as you're not going to cause more damage. And if you're going to have to take this to a lock place or have somebody do it, then you may as well try. If you can save yourself money and make it work, good for you. If you can't, then go and spend the money. Okay, so I've got the spring in there. That's the 4th spring or 2nd spring, whatever you want to call it. And you can see the pin does not want to sit in there easily. I've got the pin in there. I'm going to do a little bit of pressure. I don't want to ruin the spring. I think that came out on video. Hopefully it did. And so I've got 1 more to do. And since it's 1 more, that's usually when the spring's going to go flying across the room and totally screw up this video, but that's okay. Most of my videos are really long. Kind of interesting, my videos are really long, and the average, okay, where did that go? The average view on a YouTube video is about 3.5 minutes. So that means that most of the videos that I make, nobody ever watches. Okay, so I've got the spring in there. This is the last one. I'm going to try to get a little bit of room, get the pin inside there, press down a little bit, do a little bit of pressure, press. Now I've got all the springs in there. Now, of course, I've got all the springs in there and I knocked over all my pins. You probably can't see it, but trying to record, where is that? I knocked over all my pins. So let me get my pins back in the lock. Last chance to save the video, and always good to show that you're creative. You always have to come up with ideas in life. So with this one, I've got a 1/2-inch drill bit. And if you don't have a drill bit, a dowel, just a dollar bill, something, just anything that's going to allow you to do this. So I'm hoping that I'm able to keep the pins in here and push this drill bit through and save myself from having to do the pins individually as I insert the cylinder. So you can see what I'm doing here. There's going to be a tiny little gap there's a gap over there. Can I save it? Saved. Okay. So we've saved that. There's no guarantee that this is going to work getting the cylinder in here still. This is a big if because I don't have the follower. But it should work. It definitely should work. So, and again, if it doesn't, it's because it's going to get stuck on this ridge over here, which I don't like. So, yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen because you see the pin's going to drop down over here. That's what's going to happen. The pin is going to drop down over here, and then it's going to get stuck on the ridge, and then I'm in trouble. And I might have to come up with some other idea. But we'll see. We will see. Yeah, definitely not good. Not a good thing. I'm wiggling, trying to get this thing to go on and to keep the pins. Okay, I just have to keep this going. There it is. There it is. Oh, yes. All right. Patience. Go slow. Turn the key. Get the key out. Good thing so far. We're doing good. Get that C-clip that I took off before. Again, remember I told you these things will fly. You could hurt yourself if they go digging into your finger, but they like to fly across the room. Put it in. Put it on, it's done. Make sure it sits in that little ridge over there. Get the key again. Put the key in the lock. Turn it, and there we go. And that, my friends, is how you rekey a lock with this really nice pinning set. If I were you, I would have a 1/2-inch drill depending on the diameter of your lock cylinder, or I would have a dowel, or I would go out, maybe if you're doing a lot of these for an apartment, then you might want to consider getting maybe a follower so that you don't have to deal with this. And if you do a lot of these, you might want to consider going out and buying some springs so that you were able to replace the springs if you damage them, or if you have weak springs. And it already comes with the top pin, so you can't ask for anything better. It's a really nice pin set, and as I said, I used a micrometer, a digital caliper, and the dimensions are all right. So, hey, good luck. Please, please, please link this to any website. It really helps out my channel a lot and makes things better for me. Hopefully this helped you out. Good luck. Remember, the notch on the left side, keyway pointing up, press down, insert, slide it all the way through, feed it into the hole, grab the key, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to slide this back on. I might have to, well, as I slide it onto the doorknob post, that little pin is going to be there. I will depress the pin with a screwdriver or with my thumbnail, press it on until it pops into this little opening, and test out the lock to make sure it works out. Excuse the darkness, it's nighttime over here, so not too much light on the balcony. And I'm just going to take the doorknob and put it back on, or try to put it back on. Hits the piece over there. I'm going to press in. I'm going to get the key and put it in the lock to make sure that things are lined up. There it is. Locked. There it is. Unlocked. Locked. And that is how you rekey a lock. See if this one goes a little bit faster. So I'm going to go in there again with the screwdriver. If you're doing this for a living, you've got the right tools for this. I've only got some of the tools. I don't do this for a living. Come on, it's right there. I can see it. It's ready to come off. It is. Okay, there's the gap. There's the gap. Okay, now we're good. Got the gap. Turn the screwdriver. Don't pull, you want to turn. You want to rock back and forth to pull the thing off. Maybe use a bigger screwdriver if you need to. Rock it off. Okay, I'm going to use the 1/2-inch drill bit this time instead of the follower. Hopefully I don't run into all those nightmarish problems, but again, remember what happened. It got stuck on this little ridge over here, and that totally screwed me. You just want to angle it a little bit. It doesn't even want to turn. Okay. Yeah, this could be a bad scene right here. I can see it right now. It's because a normal follower would go over this thing and hold everything in, and I don't have a normal follower. So this is guaranteed to go flying pins all over the place any minute. That's the idea behind something like this, that it would stop that from happening. It would go over, but this is the wrong tool. Yeah, I don't want to have to do those springs again. I don't really have a choice. Because the minute it pops out, the drill's not going to be long enough to get in there and hold all this stuff in. So, I'm not looking forward to this. I can already see the pin's getting ready to go popping out of there. Yikes. The pin is getting ready to spring. It's springing right now. It's already to spring. And I know you can take off the top of these things, but I don't have any covers to replace it with, so that doesn't work for me either. You can see the pin inside there is getting ready to pop. And once it pops, that's it. Let me shut off the camera and get this thing done. Trouble, I don't have the follower and I just let the springs and the pins dump out. I'll close it back up. It will be a lot faster. That's the new cylinder. All the pins are level, nice and level on the top. So now I'm going to go do what I did before. I'm going to use the drill bit. I'm going to pop the springs in there. I might not even use the drill bit. I might not. We'll see in a minute. And then I'll feed this thing back in and then close the lock up. It's a lot easier for me just to pop the pins and the top pins and the springs and then push them back in. You're going to need a very fine tweezers, a lot of patience, a lot of bright light, and you can do it. So let's go put the key in here right now. And that's the second lock. Cylinder, and that is going to pop inside the doorknob that I showed you before, and that should complete the video. It is a lot of work, but it's not really that hard. You can save yourself $5, $10, $20, but it's definitely worth it. The pin kit is awesome. Quick test to see what happens. I just filed down my old follower, and I don't know if this is going to work or not. But if it does, you get a chance to see how much faster it goes when you have the right tools. As I say that, trying to get off this C-clamp again. Okay, this is a little looser. This is should come off easier. I can see it. I just don't have really good lighting here, so it's really hard to see what I'm doing. But I just bought some lighting for video, so I'm going to be making, a lighting review video pretty soon that I will be posting of video lighting setup for under $100. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but we'll find out. I should probably use the other screwdriver because I'm going to need the green one to do the prying. There it goes. It just went way off because I used the right screwdriver. There we go. We'll get up, and I just popped it back on. Oops. I don't swear, so I didn't say darn it. I don't know why people swear. Let's get the screwdriver in there. Again, remember, you rock it, you don't pry. And I'm just going to keep this going just long enough to see if the follower works, so you can see how much easier it is to have a follower. All right, okay. I filed inside the edges over there because I'm probably never going to use this again for the rest of my life, so I may as well. I'm not sure if it's going to work. Check that out. Pretty neat, huh? That's the way it's supposed to work. Pretty awesome. Okay. So let's go get the pins. That way you don't even have to worry about anything falling out. I'll get my pins, I'll put them in here, and show you how quick it goes after that. The camera was off long enough to put the pins in, which took maybe about 2 minutes, taking them out of the package. Now I should be able to slide everything right back on. Try to angle it a little bit so that the pins don't get stuck. And there you go. That's the way it's supposed to be done. And you take the key out. Should only take a couple minutes like this video showed, because I have the right follower. So I would definitely buy a follower if you don't have one. And now let's check this out. I just did this in less than 5 minutes. I took it off the front door. Okay, 10 minutes for filing the, I had to file the follower. So it goes really quick. There it goes. I'm going to go pop it on the front door now, and then I've got a deadbolt to do, and then I'm finished. All right, I think this really completes the video now. Buy yourself a follower. It is worth the money. Believe me, it's worth the money. You won't have to screw with the magnification, the magnifiers, the tweezers, and all the other stuff. But if that happens, you know how to do it and how to recover.